Hello, thank you very much for joining us. This is Platform on the network service of the NTA. I'm Ruth Aguele, and today we focus our attention on those special creatures on earth. I'm talking about women. Of course, I'm a woman, that's why. And, you know, even as 8th of March may have come and gone, issues of women will always pose serious concerns. And as the world celebrated the International Women's Day, they said, change comes from challenge, and a challenged world is an alert world. So every woman has been tasked to choose to challenge gender discrimination in government, workplaces, healthcare, support, in every aspect of her existence. But basically, what women want is an equal future, devoid of stigma, stereotypes, and violence. A future that is sustainable with equal rights and opportunities for all. And to achieve that, the world needs women on every table where decisions are being made. So how can women be provided the support they deserve? Especially women who are on the front lines, especially in this fight against the COVID-19 pandemic. Empower women and girls in rural communities, promote flexible working arrangements, and prevent gender-based violence in all sides to it. So our focus on Platform today will be bridging the gap of gender inequalities, challenges, and the way forward. And our guest is an activist, a country representative, Action Aid Nigeria, NTA. She has worked with local women leaders to challenge power relations, increase the number of women participating in decision-making processes, and end violence against women and girls. Well, for me, I think she's dogged, and it will interest you to know that she was among those who struggled for democracy in her youth. She has worked with labor movement and has led feminist movements. Call her the true African woman, and you will not be wrong, of course. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
And every day for us should be Happy Women's Day, right?
That's right.
Okay. We have our panelists seated. No other person than our Women Affairs correspondent here in NTA, Momso Damien Deti. Momso, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
And Happy Women's Day. I could see that.
Yeah.
So, NTA, thank you once again for joining us.
Thank you.
But I'd like to begin this way. You made a quote during the celebration, and I want to start with that. The world had us because we gathered and struggled together under one identity, sisterhood, and womanhood, irrespective of class and caste. And this year, you know, women were challenged to choose to challenge.
Yes.
So, what is your perception when we say women should choose to challenge?
Well, I think when you're talking of issues of equality,
yes,
and talking about issues of equity, women representation, this year's theme is women in leadership. It starts with women in leadership, of course, in the face of COVID-19. How are they looking at the future? Because COVID-19 has become a norm. And so when you choose to challenge, things can go on like this. Because women constitute about 50% of the population of Nigeria. What is the representation level in terms of decision making? When people are deciding things about your life and you are not involved, it doesn't, you have to find a way to enrich the decision.
Yes.
And I always put it out that the quality of any decision depends on who is in the room. Even the results of the decisions can only emanate from those who are in the room. The federal government has something on Federal Character Commission, but it's not including women. The Federal Character Commission is to correct the imbalance in terms of representation in our public lives in across the country. You know, even at the state level, people ensure that you don't take people from one ethnic group, because Nigeria has hundreds of ethnic groups. And so you try to make sure that you are able to take cognizance of that in your decision making. But what happens to the women? In some states, you know, States House of Assembly, you don't even have a woman, more than 15 of them, not one woman. So who is deciding? You have men as chairperson of women's affairs. You know, how do you decide? And so when we are looking at issues of equality, we are talking about not sitting down. There are so many women who are now educated.
Yes.
You know, we have them across the country. Mm-hmm. And so when you have them and then you are constituting, and I think most Nigerian leaders are guilty of it, In 1995, I was, privileged as a young woman to go to Beijing. And the Nigerian government had a full representation. So the affirmative action was agreed upon, but Nigeria came back. Even the Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women was something that Nigeria committed to. But it has not been even, it has not been domesticated up to today because of some flimsy excuses. And so when you're looking at that, we're talking about equal opportunities. Equal opportunity does not mean the same opportunity. Men and women, we need equal opportunity, but it's not the same kind of opportunity. What is happening to the girl child education? And so there are so many things. If you don't have hospitals, for example, how many people will be affected? Many men don't go to the hospital unless they are sick. But women are the ones that is a hub of humanity. They produce, that's a production. It's like a factory for humanity to continue its race.
From what you're saying, it's clearly, it's been stated, even the UN Secretary General, made a campaign during this year's International Women's Day for full and effective participation of women, which still has a huge gap globally, not just for Nigeria alone.
Yes.
But would you say it's the challenge, or rather the problem, women too have a role to play? Because if you're telling women to come out and stand up and, for their voices to be heard, where are women getting it wrong in terms of not being able to represent?
Okay, let's just take it let me start with the soft one, which is the appointive position. When you have a duty to appoint 40 people, and then you bring in 3 women, what are you doing? In the present Nigeria that we are today, can you not get 20 women from different backgrounds? No matter what criteria you have, you can have equal 20-20. Because you need to enrich the quality of the decision. Somebody needs to defend. People, there's the African adage that says, he who wears the shoes knows where it pinches.
Yeah.
The essence of Federal Character Commission is to have that diversity, bring it in from wherever the decisions, what their experiences, to bring the diverse experiences into the decision so that it is representative. Okay. It's so. What are we doing?
Now, are you talking about women in just elective offices or appointive offices?
This one, I said I will start with the soft one. And so this is, we are talking of appointive now.
Okay.
Elective, women have been mobilized. A lot of mobilization has been going on, but women have been denied the chances, either at the time they are collecting the forms, or they are not, sometimes towards the time that it's right to now sign off. Women withdraw. One way or the other, they are pursued, and there's a lot of canvassing going on. They said they hold, night meetings and so on and so forth. A lot of people talk about that. But I think that can also be broken, because there are not too many women in parties, in political parties. And we need to go in there en masse if we need to make a change. There's a responsibility to the government and also responsibility to women themselves. In Rwanda, how they're able to conquer it is to go into the constitution and put affirmative action in the constitution. And so there is 1/3 that is given to women as representation, no matter whether you are going in for election. Because you must make an attempt to correct an imbalance in your population so that there can be equity and also justice in the things that you do. And so when you go into the elective, so there are not so many of them because there's a lot of money also involved. There are economic issues, but there are some women who have money and are denied because of patriarchal issues. A lot of men don't feel that's a chance for women. That's not an area for women. But women are able to be effective mothers, effective managers in different, at different levels. And I'd say, for Nigeria, if you are looking at Nigeria, how come, Okonjo-Iweala, our beautiful sister, how come she's now leading the World Trade Organization, the first black and the first woman to go in there? So you walk through the ranks and you are given the opportunity. Amina, our dear sister Amina, who is the deputy, Amina Mohammed, who is the deputy, Secretary General of the United Nations. She walked through the ranks. They are qualified. There is nothing like in Nigeria now. If you want to make a choice for appointed position, You can find qualified women. So why are you refusing to do that? Even with the promises. President Buhari made a decision to say, I'm going to give people 40%. You know, this was in August, you know, the year of the election. But up to now, he has not done that. Because there are so many agencies that have board chairs and all of that. We don't find women there. Or it's like tokenism. We don't need tokenism, you know, to challenge this imbalance. So I choose to challenge the kind of, you know, the issues of bringing women into decision making, because you need to get there.
Okay, now let's talk about what mechanisms have you put in place for women to ensure that you get these equal opportunities? Because talking will not change the narrative. So what are you doing as Nigerian women to see that there's a change?
We're doing a lot of mobilization. Okay. You can't do it alone. Yeah. We're doing a lot of capacity building. Currently, ActionAid is funding more than 120 women-led organizations to make sure that they can galvanize support for women, women supporting women. We need to look at our base, building the agency of women. And so women are the highest voters. I think, you know, statistics show that women are the highest voters. And so when you are looking at that, so why are you voting for other people? Why are you voting for the men? Why not vote for the women? There is a kind of deconstruction that we have to do, because already they are in the patriarchal nature. I remember when I was going in for an election, you know, as a student, they told me women will not even vote for you. And then the guys also say, don't go there, because that is where you get arrested. That's where you get arrested, you go into detention. Women are not supposed to go there. I went in through, and I won the election, and I went through all the arrests, the detentions, from jail to whatever, and I have no regrets.
And you have succeeded because you were determined. You pushed. Now, some of the women you have mentioned, like Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala and also Amina Mohammed and the likes of them, they strive. They were determined to make it together. Now, you can't have such success if you're not dogged in spirit, if you're not determined to push. And globally, it's been asserted that women are key contributors when we're talking development in any country. Let's draw that line where support from men, from the society, a form of orientation, you know, reorienting our mindset. Like you said, women don't vote for women. What should we, how do we change that? Because
I didn't say women don't vote for women.
Not women, like women, not literally women don't vote. A lot of women won't come out to support you from what you were saying. Even if a woman comes out today that she wants to be the president, we've seen that play out in Nigeria. Not every woman will want to go and put her thumb there to vote for that woman. Women have to still prove harder that they can do it.
We want to change that.
How do we begin to change that?
And that is what we're doing. That is why this year's celebration is very special, because we are asking everybody who can galvanize support for women to start now. Women can produce the next Nigerian president in 2023. Is to go and cast the vote, is to believe in yourselves. And so there are a lot of nurturing and mentoring, intergenerational conversation that is going on across the women's circles. And so we need more networking, because like a broom, if we stick together, we can carry the day, we sweep very well. And so we are tired of voting for the men. You know, so what is going on? You're having a lot of issues of peace and security going on in this country. Yes. In most of the circles, you will not find women. You know, so if women are not there and they bear the burden of every conflict, it's women that are raped, it's women that are carrying pregnancy of men that they don't know, it's girls that are raped here and there, some are raped to death, and what is going on? COVID-19 even again double the issues, or if not triple the issues of violence against women. And so we are mobilizing, not to agonize, because the world continues. Even when you are in pain, the world continues. And so it's for us to continue to organize. We're working seriously with women organizations right now. Those who want to elect, who want to be elected, let them be bold enough to step up.
Well, are they coming out?
A lot of people are coming out. We are getting there. We are working with it's not only to emerge as a president. They need to emerge at the local government level, to be local government chair and vice chairs. They need to get up and become governors. and also to the different houses of representative and a wide mobilization. Sometimes, a lot of women are not confident. That's why I say we do a lot of capacity building. We need to enhance their capacity to be more confident about yourself. Because sometimes when you look at somebody and somebody belittles you, they talk to you the way you don't want to hear. There was a woman who was going in for election, and I remember, somebody was looking at experiences that was shared by the election, I think about more than 5 years ago. And the people, one of the things that the woman said is, a lot of people just notice some people around them and say, hey, very good woman, very good woman. They took her up. By the time she came down, everything from her body was taken.
Wow.
Okay. And so there are, people who will challenge her for going out. People who are not used to commanding. But it's okay for your mother to bring you up. It's okay for your mother to raise you. But she cannot make comments that challenge your life.
Okay, now aside the confidence building in women, you're building in women, what about the financial imbalance? That is one of the things.
Fundraising.
Yes.
There is a lot of fundraising. We are working with so many organizations, different organizations, both development partners and donor agencies, civil society organizations that are working to see which woman is bold enough to step up and see how we can garner, resources around them. Resources have so many implications. One is, are you going to use it to bribe like the men have been doing? They buy a bag of rice to go and distribute in the villages. That bag of rice is a cheat for Nigerian women. And they should not accept that. Those who go to accept that, because if it's money you suffered for, you cannot just be giving people. What is your mission of giving people bribe? Or giving people soap and giving people wrappers? And is it that they don't have wrappers and you have to do that? Anybody who gives you bribe will find a way to recoup it. And it is your children's education. Yeah. What is happening now? Those who are in government today, many of them were given scholarships to go and read. Not only within Nigeria and in beautiful public universities, but outside Nigeria, that you come back and be a better person for Nigeria. Who is getting that now? It is the children of the rich that are still getting the scholarships that are valuable now. But that wasn't how we started. The children of the poor were supposed to you invest in the human capacity for your own economy. Both male and female should be allowed to go and study and come back.
And if we want to look at investment in terms of empowerment, these women who, so to say, go out when there's election to collect the wrappers and the bag of rice, so to say, it's because they are poor. I'm not making an excuse for them. Let's look at empowering those rural women in communities. In what ways? Because a lot of them, it has been proven that women are good managers. A lot of them, you give them just a grant and then turn it to a gold mine. How can more women begin to support these rural women so that they can send their children to school and, start the foundation right?
I want to first of all say that education is the greatest of nations' investment. All of you here, you pay tax. What is the government of Nigeria doing for you? Many of you are still struggling to put your children in private schools because you know that the quality of the public schools right now is not the best for your children. And so after paying tax, you still have to do that. That's not the way it is out there. And well, of course, we are doing a lot of empowerment. ActionAid works on poverty eradication. And so we stand with the most vulnerable, and that is women and children, women and girls, people with disability. And we do a lot of empowerment going on. We have like the work we're doing on migration in Benin. I just came back from Benin, where we empowered about 1,000 young people, those who are returnees from different places and potential migrants, to prepare them. And we really built their skills, gave them equipment, and also gave them start-off money and also rent for 1 year and things like that. That's the first phase. Another phase is going on. In all of the activities that we are going in, we are in 22 states across the country. And we are doing a lot in terms of economic empowerment for women. We were called by the federal government to monitor the National Social Investment Program, where we are looking at monitoring the cash that is going out, also how Empower, NTeach, and so on and so forth is going on, to see how it will get to the rich people. But even within that, one of the main stakes in it, which I choose to challenge, is corruption in Nigeria. There's a lot of corruption that is going on, because those who are fighting and saying 5,000 does not mean anything, it means it's not getting to the place where it's supposed to get to. Before, actually, when I was a governance team leader, we went to study Bolsa Familia, in Brazil, in order to come and convince the Nigerian government that people need social protection so that you can move them out of poverty. But people didn't listen. Luckily, President Muhammadu Buhari was able to do something, and that is going to some places. But there is a lot of issues of corruption with the quality of the Nigerians themselves, not only on that.
Let me hold your thoughts there in line with what you're saying, the National Social Investment Program. Well, coincidentally, I happen to be under that beat, talking about humanitarian affairs. And I have seen how this 5,000 naira, I have witnessed it. They have shared their stories with me, how that 5,000 naira, that may mean nothing to the person in the urban center. It's like a gold mine for them. It has transformed lives. And there's a new one they introduced, the one-off cash grant of 20,000 naira for rural women specifically. Now, a lot of women like that, you wonder, it may not get to the desired peoples, like what you're saying, the corruption. But what the ministry have introduced is independent monitors. And organizations like yourself, that is where you put a close mark to ensure that these independent monitors are actually regulating the process. Are you aware of that?
I'm aware of it. We did monitoring for 2 years for the National Social Investment Program.
Okay.
And so we went, but there was I think out of the money that ought to have been given to them for the 3 years, 33% of the money was released. And that's in the first place. And those it's getting to, you cannot blame the ministry for that. You cannot blame the federal government, because the people that are getting it are in local governments, in communities.
And there are people who are in charge.
So there are people who are in charge at the local government level, at the state government level, and all of that. And so there is a lot of truncation that is going on, like money that is going to the cooks. Some people will give the cooks, they will hold the cooks ATM. And when they pay money for homegrown school feeding, when they pay the money, it enters another. So there is a lot that we're doing that brought out so much of that, the issue of corruption. And that has to do with the quality of the individual. We are compatriots. We are patriotic Nigerians. We need to reassess that. And that is to whom much is given. Much is expected. And so those who are in government, the political class today, what decisions are they making to change lives? Apart from earning fat salaries. The kind of salaries they are getting, my professor in school is not getting it. And the professors are the ones who are churning out the human resources, for the economy of this country. And so it's okay to go into politics 1 year and you are earning 15 million and so on and so forth. And then we have no money to pay teachers. We have at the local government level or at the state government level, people are being owned, for 1 year, and a lot of things. And people are looting the economy of this country, but who is challenging them? How many looters have gone to jail? They say, we have a case against this person. You will never hear that case, in the next 4 years and all that. So our judiciary will have to buckle up. Because there is a lot of money that have gone out. Look at the Boris case now, that 4.2 million, pounds is coming to Nigeria. The federal government is trying to hold that when the money belongs to the state. The state says no money is missing from us, and so much. So there is a lot of resources in Nigeria, and we should not leave it to the federal government alone. We need to go down and let people take blame. Let people take responsibilities for building and getting to the rich, to the poor. Because as far as the many poor cannot be rich, and you're not preparing for them, and you're not creating employment, the few rich will never be saved. And that is why nobody to go to Kaduna. How many people are going going by train, and who is bold enough to go by the road? In the next few years, if you don't tackle it, what's going to happen?
Is that connected to the NSAS protest that we just witnessed last year?
NSAS, I look at it as a child's play. When the water bubbles, it will go to everywhere. About 62% of Nigerians are young people. That's an engine room for development. But if you are not, if I say within the room of NTA alone, I will ask you, how many people have you helped to graduate? How many people have you educated? How many of them are roaming around? there is implication for the future. If it bubbles, it will be another thing. Women have a lot of complaints. The youth have a lot of complaints. So the Nigerian government needs to sit up. If not, the next time they go on the street, as a woman, I want to go on the street because there are no hospitals. What is the Nigerian government doing? National hospital that was built for women. What is happening today? It was built for women and children. But that's the only major hospital in Nigeria. Government after government, they have not been able to build more hospitals. What is going on?
Let's go back
to the issue of equality and women in leadership.
Yes. Okay, I think of the challenges now, can we appraise the performance of Nigerian women in this past few years, especially in the last year during the COVID? Let's appraise their performance.
The Nigerian women bear a lot of burden. There is the unpaid care. You know, if you ask a woman, you know, who is at home, you ask them or you ask their husband, they say they are not working, they are just at home. But if you go through the rigor of what you do at home, there is no work that is much more than that. It's better to go to work and do that one and let somebody else do what is in the house. They contribute a lot. There is a lot of contribution. But under lockdown, posed more challenges. Yes. Many people went below the poverty line. You know, so the challenge is how to make sure that there is food on the table. Nigerian women are so strong, you know, and I really appreciate them for that, because you could not go out, yet you have to put food on the table. And the point is, there is one script that is going around when the hen and the cock goes to go and eat, and you find the hen, you know, picking food and giving to the children, exactly, making sure that the children are eating, but the cock is still taking food, just feeding itself and all of that. That's the story of the woman. And they were able to go through it. Some of them, you know, they're small businesses. And because of that, many of them, their capitals were eaten up. And so there is a lot of poverty in the land, and they need to be helped. We have a lot of funding that is coming either from the CBN or from Bank of Industry, exactly, and all of that. Many of them are not educated. And so if you are not educated, you can't go through the formal. You can't benefit from some of the funds that are available. And so there is a lot. Government is doing so much in trying to reach, you know, the very poor. Okay. But much more can be done. Okay,
and if we're looking at from that aspect of where a lot of, you know, businesses were affected, a lot of people lost their jobs, women, you know, had the higher chunk of that. Agriculture is one aspect that has been looked into right now as a means of diversification. And statistics reveals that in as much as more women account for the agricultural workforce in Nigeria, only 13% are actually, you know, could account for that agricultural land, you know, landowners. And that's a huge gap. Now you want to be a farmer and you find these farmers, these women farmers in the rural communities, and they do so well. But when they don't own the land, it's not something you would say it's sustainable for you as a person, as a farmer. How can women in such, you know, instance be encouraged, and how can they also be supported to be landowners?
Thank you very much for that question. ActionAid Nigeria is hosting the Secretariat for Small-Scale Holder Women Farmers in Nigeria. And so we are enhancing their capacity, so they are from all over the country. So I can say that we have taken them, you know, to different countries to also learn how to sustain to make their own fertilizers or manures. You know, we have done a lot in that. The population is huge. And the government, we're also working with SMEDAN, we're working with the Federal Ministry of Agriculture that has been able to bring a number of farm implements to them. And they are going, you know, they are working very hard. We had a meeting not too long with the Minister for the Federal Ministry of Agriculture, and they are uniting, you know, working with the women. I think a lot has come up. Last year, 2 years ago, you know, the Federal Ministry of Agriculture, you know, inaugurated you know, they were able to bring up a national gender policy for agriculture. And that is a plus. And so if they're able to implement it, it will encourage a lot of women. The women farmers themselves are encouraging other women to come on board. But we need more of them to be reached. We are at the communities, so we bring them out of the communities. There is a lot that we have done We had an International Women's Conference, which is going to, at Kilimanjaro. About 5 Nigerian women climbed the Kilimanjaro to go and put a declaration on the Kilimanjaro mountain. And these are local women from different communities across the country. And so we are encouraging them, and we're working with the Ministries of Agriculture at the different levels, at the state level, the local government level, to see how they can get that. And the land issue, when you talk of land, because they don't own much land, reduces their own economic powers. Yes. And that means whatever you produce, you have to be, there's some subtractions and so on. I think we should do more in terms of women owning land, because it's their subsistence farming. Most of the time they don't go for the massive one that they catch, crops. They rather go for what puts food on the table. But a lot of that is changing, and some women farmers are employing farmers.
Okay, talking about farming too, the African Free Trade Program has consideration for women, Nigerian women. How can they take advantage of that?
It's for us to link them to the free trade agreement. Free trade movement.
Yes.
Not much has been done in Nigeria with the African Free Trade Movement. I know that I've run some courses with them because I've been a trainer at the international level on issues of gender and also economic literacy and so on. So there hasn't been much linkage, with Nigeria. But that we can do, because actually it is in 45 countries. And that's one of the benefits that we have in terms of dual citizenship kind of thing.
So who qualifies to partake of this free trade movement, and then what's the criteria?
Free trade movement is not really a movement for now, because we have not signed the EPAS, the Economic Partnership Agreement. That's one of the things and that is, you have to be able to do that before they come to you. Nigeria has not signed. The signing will give a lot of advantages for us, but the signing requires that you make a lot of preparation. And I don't think Nigerian government has been serious on that. It is, trading is beautiful, but you buy from me, I buy from you. So there are certain things that I will sell to you, there are certain things that you sell to me, and that's to create a trade balance. But what we have heard is for you to go into free trade agreement, you need to prepare your house, prepare the export environment, your agricultural produce and all of that. A lot of importation, export is going on for very little things that Nigeria more than qualifies. In Kenya, one time I was told, can they produce, spices and all that so that they can take it, but we are not in EU because we have not signed the EPAS, and so that creates the barrier. They are looking at it, they know that it will create a trade imbalance. If you just let go and sign, they will bring all their things to Nigeria.
So what opportunities are there for Nigerian women?
I think the Nigerian government has a lot to do with that, because they need to work themselves to be able to prepare the ground, because you need to invest at home to prepare your grounds before you go into the agreement. And Nigerian government has not done that. I know that the EU, been working with the Nigerian government, with the National Planning Commission. I don't know the stage they are exactly now, but that is an opportunity, for you to be able to export. There's a lot that is going on. It's not everything that we farm in Nigeria that we export. But do you take it through the normal way that can earn you money, or you export it in a way that, reduces your capacity as well, your economic capacity?
Okay, and a lot of women, every woman aspires to be a mother. And one attribute of a mother is nurturing. If we want to lay the foundation right, let's look at nurturing the younger ones. How about encouraging the girl child in school to love and embrace agriculture as a form of profession? More like having mentors who have succeeded in that aspect, be mentors to them. Would you advocate that?
I would advocate that. My niece told me a couple of months ago, that she wants to read agriculture. She wants to be a farmer. And my eyes opened. She said, that's what I want to do. I'm excited. A number of the schools that they go to these days, those who are in the urban areas, they don't have land for agriculture.
Yes.
But in the villages, there is land for agriculture. And so they are taught agriculture right from, that environment, to be able to do it. But you are having schools that have no field, and that is authorized. And so they are learning on agriculture, unless you take them on a field visit and so on and so forth. And so what is happening is at the environment where these women are, women farmers are, their children are learning from them. And what we are saying, you have a lot of young women, not in school, some after school.
Yes.
Some are not going to school because of some things here and there,
because
some
I
challenges.
remember, you know, I learned how to farm okra and yam in school.
Yeah.
In primary school.
I did too.
You know, you see, that was then, but you
It was
can't find that
compulsory then.
in urban centers today. Most schools
Because the
don't
urban
even
centers
do
don't
that.
have land. So where do they show? Where do they have farm? When we're, you know, at the time we're growing up, you have your own farm. Your ridges are there and it's inspected, and you have to graduate. If you are reading agriculture in secondary school, you have to show that you have farmed and you can see your produce.
So how can girls be encouraged to embrace farming?
The encouragement continues. And many schools, what they take advantage of is to go on a field visits. And that has been, so after the learning, the theory, they go in for practical. A lot is being, you know, that is going on, and that should be encouraged. But those who are at the community levels, their children are still learning. You know, they're learning from them. But we are showing them the ways of creating the change. We have empowered a lot of women, put them, you know, machines together. If they needed machines, we bought machines in different states, you know, putting women together. But unity has done a lot for them. Some of them have given testimonies of being mothers of graduates and master's holders because of their resources, because we have to enhance the food chain, you know, the ways of looking for market and so on. And that's why COVID-19 brought them down, because a lot of produce got spoiled as they couldn't go out. And so that had a lot of impact for them. But the story continues for both male and female. If you go into schools now, there are lots of women who read agriculture. But where is the job? Yeah.
Okay. Let's talk a little about Action Aid. Last year you launched Women's-led Protection Action Against Gender-Based Violence. Mm-hmm. Yes, and I know you access funds from Commonwealth.
The Foreign Commonwealth.
Yes.
And,
so
yeah.
Tell us a little about it now.
Yes, women-led protection. There's a lot of gender-based violence, you know, that is going on. You know, COVID-19 doubled, you know, really pulled that down. That within the month of the lockdown, which was in March,
yes,
down to June, the police said they recorded about 717 cases already. And you go to different states, there is a lot of insanity that is going on. There's a lot of rape. Sometimes you have 4 people raping a child. And then going through that, all of that is going on, there's a need to protect women, to have also, you know, some safety environment for them. You know, you have to have shelter for them. We don't have much shelter. And so the Federal Ministry of Women Affairs, we're also working with them. We are engaging them. They are doing a lot in terms of gender-based violence. And we're mobilizing, you know, donors from across development partners. ActionAid also chair, you know, the development partners group on gender. And so we are working very hard to see how they can protect women and girls. Okay, but first we need to network with each other.
What exactly is that platform doing? Do you just provide shelter, or you take care of the women after the...
We work with women-led organizations.
Okay.
And on that, I think we have specifically more than 30 women-led organizations across the country. We are funding about 120 right now, you know, with the support from Global Affairs Canada on women leadership and also issues of protection. And then Ford Foundation is also giving us money on that. And then this protection, you know, from FCDU. They are also, you know, providing funds to see how we can galvanize. And I think Ford Foundation want to encourage campaign against rape epidemic, because there is an epidemic. Yes. And so we need to do a lot on that. They also prosecute. They also go. They don't have the right, but they can follow the victims. The law that is now, you know, when we are looking at the laws, the government needs to do something, because the way the law stands right now, if there is a victim, if you find somebody is raped, that person will have to come from whichever place they are to the state headquarters, you know, to come and report. And you need to transport both the victim and the whatever, the witness, bring in the witnesses and also the person who perpetrated this. You know, how does that go? You know, we need to personalize the issue of rape.
You know, when it comes to this rape issue, I see it as a dicey, because if we're looking at minors being raped, do you expect that minor, that 3-month-old baby, 1-month-old baby, to come all the way? You've already shattered that child's life. A lot of times we get to see these perpetrators go scot-free. They're tried and they're given bail. Where do we begin to draw the line in terms of conviction? Because if you don't set an example, we'll keep just saying this and keep campaigning against it and nothing changes.
I want to commend the Governors Forum for what they did when the outcry became so loud. They took it to the Governors Forum and many of them have passed the law, the prohibition, you know, and also some of them says no bail is not a bailable offense and all of that. It's not bailable. You destroy a life. And then you bail that person, the person goes home, someone's life is destroyed. And so we have to personalize, to take it from data and personalized. Supposing it was your daughter that went through that. Supposing it was your sister. And one of the things that we used to, stories that we take out was something that happened in a particular country and they shared with us. They said, supposing, one woman sent the daughter to somewhere and she wasn't coming in quickly in a village, and she started telling herself, she went to look for her daughter, and she met a guy, raping the daughter. She had a knife, so she just used the knife and yanked whatever off. And the question they were asking us, and so the woman was taken to court. And the question came back to us to say, if you were the one that found your daughter being raped at that moment, and you had a knife because she was working in the kitchen, what would you do? You actually cannot determine what you would have done with that person. It depends on the moment. Yes. And as far as it's a reaction, an immediate reaction, the law does not hold you. But if you had gone home and thought about it and then you come back, then the law will hold you. But your reaction is general. And so we need to personalize that.
That brings us to the VAP Act. Not all the states have been able to pass the VAP Act.
Yeah.
So what stage are we and how successful is that VAP Act in Nigeria?
We're working with Federation of International Women Lawyers. We're working with different organizations that are mobilizing their states. And that's why we are bringing all of that to the issue of women in decision-making. Not many women are in decision-making. You carry a case like rape to a state assembly that doesn't have women, any woman.
That's true.
That doesn't have women. And then if you look at the Child Rights Act, many communities in many states, about 12 states, they have still not domesticated that. What is the problem? The politicians are the ones marrying the young girls. And so if they are the one, are you saying those who are perpetuating will be able to pass that law? They are not passing the law. And so we need to increase the level of women in decision-making to make a difference where these decisions are taken. Because only a woman who knows, maybe if you put 20 women together, 1 or 2 women will tell you I have been raped and what it feels to be raped. They will be able to stand on the shoes on the, of that. So you are dealing with parents whose children are raped and all that. We still have the Chibok girls, some of them, over 100 of them, are still being held. Leah Shuaibu, the girl is still being held. What is the government doing about it? It depends on how humanity takes decisions. I think many of the governors took the decisions because a lot of them are parents. I mean, all of them are parents. They understand what is going on. But the implication for the future, the girls that have been kidnapped, many of them are raped. What becomes of them in the future is only when you can place yourself in the shoes.
Which is where, organizations like yours come in terms of counseling this child that has gone through a traumatic experience. What is in place for them and what would you advocate? Now, it's one thing to just notify the public this child has been raped. What should be done, to fix that child's life? Because you've destroyed that person psychologically.
When cases are reported, our partners, which we advance, when it comes to our notice, the partners already are on ground. And so they go to the rescue. You need to rescue the child. You need to go through the referral part. The insult about rape is that when you go through rape, they have to take samples from you to confirm that you were raped. If not, there is no case in the court.
Yes.
Though there are some other things that are now coming up, scientific things that are now coming up for more proof. And so you go through that. Many of the parents that these things happen to are not parents who can afford to transport themselves from their local government, from their state to from their community to the local government, and then to the state. So the issue here is a power struggle. Is a lot of power, and because of the nature of a patriarchy, When some are raped and you are taking them to court, the parents they go and meet the parents, give them some money, and then they come and meet the police. You say, we don't want the case again. And they will even tell you who is going to court so boldly to go and defend this girl, the parents will tell you, you go, we are not going, and our child is not coming. And so there is a whole lot of education that is coming. The silence needs to be broken. We need to be able to, we need to get to the level that they are bold enough. And so we do a lot of counseling. It's not action aid because we're working through partners. Okay. We believe that partners do, I have a staff of only about 110 interns and volunteers inclusive. And so, but in all of the states where we're working, we have women, female women-led, organizations that are on ground. We also work, we don't work alone. Men are also there. MBA got up really high in support. And so we have women, thousands of women lawyers or millions of women lawyers that are, really out now. So we're working, uniting with us.
Have persons living in rural communities in mind. So, but the question is, how many Nigerians can access these interventions? The lawyers, the healthcare, treatment after rape and all that. How many Nigerians can access that?
That is why.
And how do they access that?
I think even at the ministries of women, state ministries of women affairs, okay, they also have the social unit, okay, the social unit that attends to a lot of cases, and they are doing a lot on that. And we're working with the Federal Ministry of Women Affairs to identify that. Where our partner comes up, because the kind of funding we're doing right now is not when we don't prescribe for the partners. What do you want? Some of them say we want a center where, a shelter for these women, because they go through some processes, and that is why, we have to ensure that these processes are followed. Mm-hmm. Psychosocial support, we don't have a lot of psychologists, okay, but there's a lot that is going on. There are organizations that are training more people to become counselors, and we are also supporting that
okay,
as well.
We're actually winding down. We have a few minutes to go. It's been an interesting discourse, but
thank you.
As a mother, as a woman, you look at what is happening today in the world, you look at the gap in terms of inequalities, you look at what the rural woman goes through, how she daily breaks her back just to see that her child go to school, there's food on the table. What would you want to see change? Well, because next year, again, people will come out, carry placards and Happy Women's Day, do the campaign and all of that. We keep doing the same routine every year. What do you want to see change?
I want to see my tax work for me. I want to be able to take my children to public schools. My grandchildren should go to public schools and not private schools, like was equated by the colonial leaders. That is even colonial. But now Rwanda did it. They're able to, most of the public schools in Rwanda have closed down. I mean, the private schools have closed down. And government is now facilitating to make sure that they go back. And we want the women to be rich. We need to provide scholarship for women in different communities, just like was the old. They need to go back in time to see how we can reach the very poor. Those who are looting, they need to sanction them to release more funding into the state levels. In the case of where we are building, you are building protection for yourself, cars that are bulletproof. In the future, even there will be no road for the cars to pass. So this is the time to sanitize the system, to encourage women. And I choose to challenge, and I'm saying that, more women, we should be able to go to the war front. Let's call it war front now. If women and youth in Nigeria, are able to unite themselves, they will choose the next president so that we can get off.
Momso, briefly?
Yes. Celebrating Nigerian women in the COVID era, or COVID-19 pandemic era, yes. How would you appraise their performance in this COVID season? And then like our women who recently just got global appointments, how would they change the narrative? So how can we take the key from those women who are representing us at the global stage?
I celebrate the women that have gone to the global stage. But these women, it shows you there are so many Okonjo-Iwealas in this country. So many Aminas in this country. We have qualified women now. The opportunities. If they don't give them the opportunities, somebody else will go and take it. And that is why, but what we did, this COVID and the kidnappings is going to bring it down. Because many children are not allowed to go to school anymore. Because why do you want to, so we have been fighting, especially in the north, we have been struggling, educating the girl child, we went to places where some girls have never gone to, from that environment, have never gone to secondary schools before. They are now in the secondary school, and now you have kidnapping. You take back, and so the government will need to do something on peace and security to secure the protection, the welfare, the economy, and the security of people. Those are the major veins. Before next year they are going to go into elections. Yeah. Nigeria is not secured, and all of the things that we're doing, women tried, and I say congratulations to Konjo Iweala, a beautiful sister. She qualifies, and there's so many that we can learn from them. But there is a lot of intergenerational that is going on, mentorship that is going on, and so we are able to, and we ask for unity of women across the country. So,
well, thank you very much, NLB. Like I will always say, Nigeria is a work in progress, and it is a collective responsibility. We can't leave the burden for the government alone. We also have a role to play as women, as even men. The men have a strong role to play to support.
So many of them do better.
Women. Yes,
a number of them.
Yes.
I would say not so many.
Thank you very much for your time with us on platform. Thank you.
My pleasure.
And Momso Damian Detti, our Women Affairs correspondent, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, now what the women are crying out for is equal opportunities. It's a clear thinking. If women are given these opportunities, to lead, and also participate in terms of decision making, they will definitely progress. That's Platform. Thank you very much for your time with us. I'm Ruth Aguela. Bye.